Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at a stack of source material that might seem pretty simple on the surface,
Mm,
but it actually holds the blueprint for one of the most critical communication tasks you face, well, every single day.
right. We're not talking about complex economic models today.
No, not at all. We're diving into the anatomy of a personal narrative. Our sources are all about one thing, describing your daily routine in English.
And our mission here is to really get into the structure.
Exactly. We want to extract that narrative skeleton
Yeah.
because, you know, the source material makes a great point. You talk about your day all the time.
All the time. And if you can't tell that story clearly, it's a huge missed opportunity. What I find fascinating is how this material is just a masterclass in using the simple present tense.
To show consistency.
Yes. So this deep dive, it's not about just memorizing actions. It's about understanding that chronological framework, morning, afternoon, evening, and knowing where to put your details for,
Right.
maximum impact.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We're starting at the beginning. Segment 1, the essential morning sequence, or as we're calling it, the 7 a.m. kickoff.
I like that.
The sources, they immediately establish this precision. They start with a specific timestamp. I wake up at 7 o'clock.
And that number is so important.
Why? What does it do?
It anchors the whole narrative. It's not just, I wake up early, which is, kind of vague. 7 a.m. is a commitment. It's a fixed point. It sets the expectation for the listener.
And right after that, there's this cluster of actions.
Mm-hmm. The personal prep steps, they're all tightly grouped. I get out of bed, I take a shower, I brush my teeth, and I get dressed.
It's a very efficient flow.
It is. The language itself mirrors the action.
Hmm.
Short, direct phrases. There's no ambiguity. You're just listing them in order. You're not, mixing up showering and getting dressed.
I love that. It's like the pregame ritual.
Yeah.
And then as soon as that's done, there's this really swift pivot.
A huge pivot.
Right. You go from the personal, internal stuff to the external obligation.
Yes.
From the bathroom to the kitchen and then out the door.
Yes. The narrative immediately moves to, I eat breakfast, and then the departure. I go to work.
Or I go to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that transition that signals the real day is starting.
And this is where the extra details and the sources add so much value. We learn that on weekdays, it's often a small breakfast.
Which says a lot.
It communicates purpose, time constraint. It tells you, I'm prioritizing speed right now.
And what about personal habits, like coffee?
The sources account for that. They give the example, I drink coffee every morning, and you can just slot that detail right in after breakfast. It shows you how to customize the routine without breaking the flow.
So the sources give this little mini example that puts it all together.
Let's hear it.
Every day, I wake up at 7, I take a quick shower, get dressed, and eat breakfast. Then I leave my house and go to work.
And that word then, it's so crucial.
The first big transition word.
It's the glue. Without it, you just have a list. With it, you have a sequence, a story. So the takeaway for the morning is anchor with a time and connect the steps.
Perfect. So the 7 a.m. kickoff is done. Now what? Let's move into segment 2. The afternoon narrative. This is sort of the engine room of the day.
Yeah, the heavy lift.
And the vocabulary reflects that. It's less about these quick personal actions and more about timeline markers.
Right. You get 3 key phrases. I have lunch at 1 p.m. I work until 5. And for learners, I study English in the afternoon.
So lunch at 1 p.m. becomes the central anchor for the whole day.
It absolutely does. It splits the workload. And notice the wording, I work until 5.
Not just I work.
Exactly. Saying until 5 sets a clear boundary. It's a powerful structural tool because you're already carving out that evening space for yourself.
It gives the day a defined shape.
It does. And the source material's own summary shows this perfectly. It says, in the afternoon, I have lunch at 1 o'clock and work until 5. After work, I go home and relax.
After work. That's the next critical transition phrase.
It's the trigger for the entire evening. It signals that the obligation part is over.
And I think what the sources do next is strategically brilliant. The immediate post-work part.
What's that?
It's a 2-part phrase. I go home and I relax for a while. It acknowledges that you need to decompress.
That's such a good point. If you just jumped from work until 5 straight to cook dinner, the whole narrative would feel incredibly stressful.
Right, you feel rushed.
It absolutely would. Those two simple phrases, they act as a narrative bridge. It's like the story is taking a breath. It shows a real awareness of how life is actually paced.
It's a mental cool down period.
And it buys you time before the third big pivot into the evening. You see how the source chunks the day. Morning is rapid fire actions. Afternoon is work bounded by time. And evening is.
That's choice. Which brings us to segment 3,
Mm-hmm.
winding down, moving from obligation to, domestic and social time. That 11 p.m. endpoint is in sight.
And the evening routine, it's defined by variety, which is a big contrast to the morning. The source gives you a bunch of flexible activities.
Like what?
I cook dinner, I spend time with my family, I watch TV or YouTube, and even a physical break, I take a walk.
And there's still an implied order there, isn't there?
Oh, for sure. You're probably going to cook dinner before you watch TV.
Right.
So the sequence moves from a necessary chore to leisure. It's a practical flow.
And after those main activities, the sources zone in on the final steps, the buffer before sleep.
The wind down. I read a book, and then the final target. I go to bed at 11.
Reading a book, it's like this universal signal for destimulation, isn't it?
It is. It reinforces the intention of getting a good night's rest. And the evening example they provide puts it together so neatly. In the evening, I cook dinner, watch a little TV, and read before I go to bed.
Before, another one of those key transition words.
It ties all the relaxing activities directly to that 11 p.m. goal. But here's what I think is the most important insight for anyone trying to build a new skill.
Okay.
The full example, the big one, it explicitly slots in a major personal goal. After cooking dinner, the person studies English for 30 minutes.
Ah, that's so telling. 30 minutes. It's specific. It's measurable.
And it's nested inside the routine. It shows that this structure we've been talking about, it's strong enough to hold your personal goals.
So the consistency of the routine is what actually enables you to do the hard thing.
Yes, the routine is the safety net. You don't have to decide if you're going to study. The structure has already made that decision for you. That's the real power here.
Okay, let's pull this all together. Segment 4. Synthesis and key takeaways.
Let's do it.
The full daily routine example in the sources, it's really the ultimate reference. It confirms the whole flow we've been discussing.
Right. Waking at 7 a.m., the hygiene sequence, the small breakfast, heading off to work.
Then the midday details. It mentions having lunch with coworkers.
Yeah.
So the structure manages social time, not just tasks.
That's a great observation. The 1 p.m. anchor is still there. You finish your tasks, and then you get that clean evening structure.
The after-work transition.
Right. Go home, cook dinner, and then, boom, the 30 minutes of English study. Then relaxing, reading, and sleeping around 11 p.m.
It's just a perfectly packaged day. And those little transition words, then, after work, before, they're the linguistic glue holding it all together.
And if you look at the other practice sentences, they reinforce this. Things like, I usually wake up early. That word usually teaches you how to talk about habits.
And after work, I study English.
Yeah.
It just confirms that link between your job and your personal goals.
But there's one sentence that's the thesis for this whole thing. It connects the narrative to the outcome.
What is it?
My daily routine is simple, but it helps me stay organized.
Ah, that's it, isn't it?
That's everything. We've been analyzing these really simple actions, waking up, eating. The insight isn't the actions themselves, it's that the simple act of organizing them into this 3-part structure is what makes you feel organized.
The structure removes decision fatigue.
Exactly. You're just following the story you've already written for yourself.
Yeah. So that's the ultimate knowledge nugget. The source material isn't just a vocabulary list. It's a functional narrative architecture. It teaches you how to tell a powerful story of your own consistency.
It really does. And that brings me to a final thought for you to consider. If simply organizing your day into a simple sequence is the key to feeling organized, What happens when you get serious about the details within those blocks?
Like that 30 minutes of English study.
Exactly. That dedicated time only becomes possible because the routine around it is so solid, so rigid. The structure provides the foundation. And that foundation then gives you the space to build something new for yourself.
So take the structure, use the transition words, and build your own narrative. Use that structure to achieve consistency.
That's the takeaway.
Keep practicing your structured daily routine.